Hi, everyone, and welcome to Huddle in Place with the Nine-Sided Circle. I believe this is episode 38, and it is May the 4th. May the 4th be with you all.
We're geeks.
Has to be said. So I am one of your geeky hosts, Noor Kyle, and I'm in Los Angeles.
And I am the other one of your geeky hosts, Mushtaq Ali, and I am in the Bay Area, but in spirit, I am in Santa Fe, New Mexico today.
In front of?
In front of a random adobe house.
With beautiful windows in it.
Yep, beautiful windows and those fun ways that they block the sun while still getting light in with that honeycomb sort of pattern.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I guess it's pretty dark in there, huh?
Darkish, but it keeps it cool.
Yeah. Awesome. So, where are we today? Our topic that we wanted to discuss was...
we are going to discuss two aspects of human adulthood and the Gom Jabbar.
Ah, yes. Dune reference. For those
Dune
who
reference.
Are familiar. Yep.
Yes, since the new Dune movie is going to be coming out soon-ish, and we are hoping that it is not going to die a dog's death because it was terrible and horrible and no good and very bad.
I mean, speaking of geeky stuff.
Yeah. But, you know, some of us know that Dune was an incredibly important novel and in some ways somewhat prophetic.
Yeah. Say a little bit more about that.
So, Frank Herbert drew from some very interesting traditions in crafting his world. And I personally think that he was touched with a little inspiration in doing it. If you haven't read the novel, read the novel, then we can talk about it. But I will say it makes you think.
I think that's fair enough, yeah. With the movie coming up.
Yep.
You know.
And there is one scene. So you have the Paul Atreides, who is this young guy who is going to inherit this dukedom from his dad at some point, if he's lucky. And his mother's teacher, who is a Bene Gesserit. There's a lot of kind of Arabic stuff in this, Sufi stuff, Arabic stuff. So Bene, it means the tribe of, so Bene Gesserit, which is this group of incredibly powerful women who are working for some subtle end for centuries. And they come to test young Paul to see if he's human. And they do this by getting him to put his hand in a box. And small box, fits his hand. And then the moment he does, the woman who is testing him, which is Reverend Mother Gaius Helena Monham, it's very geeky that I remember all of this shit, puts this poison needle to his neck. The poison needle is known as the Gom Jabbar. And she tells him, if you remove your hand from the box, I am going to kill you. And then she turns the box on, and the box has a pain inducer in it, which slowly increases the pain that he feels in his hand. And his only job is to endure, knowing that if he can endure, he lives. If he pulls his hand out, he dies. And he endures, and he's a human. Now, what does this tell us? This tells us that one of the qualities of an adult human being is the ability to put aside immediate gratification for a long-term goal that will benefit. Because that's what he has to do. His immediate gratification is to get the pain off his hand. And he has to choose not to do that because he'll die. He has to endure. So this is a quality of an adult human, the ability to set aside immediate gratification for a long-term outcome. The other important quality of an adult human being is to be able to understand the likely consequences of a choice to be made. If you look at children, they don't understand that. There's that classic thing, classic text. You have 10 kids in a room and you give them 10 really delicious cookies. And you say, I'm going to leave the room for 5 minutes. And if when I come back, you have not eaten your cookie, I'm going to give you 5 more cookies. And you leave the room and you come back, and probably 7 out of the 10 kids have eaten the cookie because they can't get their mind around this idea of, if I choose not to eat this cookie, I will have more cookies to eat. They need the immediate gratification. Real adult humans do not need immediate gratification. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, I think we may see the ripples of this in vivid, living color in the situation we find ourselves in right now, where many of us are getting antsy around being stuck at home. Perhaps we're getting really stressed about not being able to go to a workplace. But I think when we talk about the inability to delay gratification, that is most specifically evidenced when people are going out and protesting in ways that put themselves in danger and are focused on things that are not necessary right now.
Yeah, jobs are necessary.
Right.
Having money is necessary. If you focus on that, you can ask yourself, what could we actually do together to make this so that we can all survive it? And that might include forcing our government to pay us some of our tax money back each month.
Yes.
Which all of these people could do. You could get right-wingers and left-wingers together. Instead, you have people whining and sniveling about needing haircuts. For fuck's sake, you would rather die or kill somebody else so that you could have a nice haircut. This is not the act of an adult human being. Adult humans know how to cooperate. That's that's a third thing. They will cooperate with each other even if they don't actually like each other. Because cooperation is what keeps you from getting killed. This is something that we've known since the earliest days of humanity. If you're hunting bears, you don't go out by yourself and go poke, poke, poke to the bear, because the bear will turn around and eat you. You need to work with your friends and all sneak up on the bear and poke it in such ways that it falls down and dies before it can eat any of you. And that takes cooperation.
Yeah, and there are ways in which we can get our, these needs met, like wanting haircuts and stuff. They aren't necessarily going to be ideal, but they fulfill the requirement. I recommend
shaving your head.
Yeah, I mean, I can trim my own hair, or I can have the person who lives with me help me trim my hair. It's not going to be perfect. That's a sacrifice we'll make right now. But nonetheless, it's still a delayed gratification in the sense that I understand putting off the ideal is important. Putting off like my fantasy of what should be is important, because the teamwork, the protection of one another, that has to come first.
Yep. So check out the fact that the people who are doing these protests are being, one, led by agent provocateurs being paid by right-wing astroturf groups.
Right.
And two, they are not necessarily addressing the main problems. I mean, when they address, we need money to live and eat, that is a serious main
Yes.
problem.
Yes,
When they're,
absolutely.
we want our right to go to the beach and have a haircut and all of this other crap. I'm sorry, you don't, there is no constitutional right to a haircut.
Nope.
Nope. So be a hippie for a while or shave your head.
Yeah. And I think there's something to be said about how much it sucks to not have access to what we call nature at a time like this. So the desire to go to the beach is understandable. It's just that we do not know how to conduct ourselves in a way when people are en masse going to the beach to look out for one another. We do not have that social trust and cohesiveness in place to make that work for us. And this is why we're having this back and forth about whether we can have access to those things right now.
And Sweden is always brought up at this point. Well, Sweden didn't order everybody to stay home, and yet they're doing all right. One, they did have a higher death toll than every other Nordic country.
Mm-hmm.
But two, the Swedish people were able to cooperate, and without having to have anybody tell them that they had to, do the proper social distancing things and all of that kind of stuff.
That's the difference.
And this is not from the news. I'm half Swedish. I used to live in Sweden. I love the country and I have friends and family there. And I am in contact with them because of course I worry. And so I'm hearing what's going on firsthand, not from a news corp that has a political agenda. The Swedes have managed to do this thing because by and large, they can act in an adult manner. And if we could do that, we could use their model.
Mm-hmm.
But we can't, or we won't, which is more like it.
Right.
Sorry, I'm in finger shaking mode again.
Yeah. So that's, that's where we're at.
Yes, and so
individually, we are able, if we are willing, to take responsibility for ourselves as adult human beings, to both, contemplate the consequences of our choices, both potential and probable, choose from among those in order to move forward in a way that's going to protect ourselves and protect others and get us ideally out of this mess quicker. But, that's going to be challenging if not everyone is doing that, which is why, individually speaking, we need to do the best we can to be adult.
yeah, so when you have an urge to do something that goes against the various guidelines for keeping yourself safe, ask yourself, is this needed, or am I just throwing a tantrum because I'm not getting what I want in the way of immediate gratification? If the answer is the latter, then you need to rethink that. If it's the former, then you need to figure out how you can do it safely.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that, in Michigan yesterday, somebody was told they couldn't come into a store, which is private property, not government run, because they weren't wearing a face mask. And instead of going to their car and getting a face mask, they went to their car and got a gun and came back and shot the security guard.
Yeah, I saw that not long before we got on the call.
Yep. So stop throwing tantrums. Mm-hmm. If you are. I'm assuming that anybody listening to this probably isn't. Just so I say, I'm shaking my finger at the wrong people.
Yeah, well,
But part of the reason we're doing this is for our own mental health. So sometimes we have to rant about it. Sorry. This is one of those times.
I think that's valid. Yeah. So, any other thoughts before we wrap up?
Yeah. I'm done.
Well,
rant ended.
There you have our rant
for
today. Thank you, Mushtaq, for yeah, for, you know, incorporating in Dune and stuff like that, because it's kind of cool to have like literary examples of
Yes.
what we're talking about. So with that said, I think we're going to wrap up for today. Take good care of yourselves.
And we'll see you tomorrow, hopefully with something more fun than this.
Yeah. Make some adult choices in the meantime, huh?
Yep.
We're going to do our best to do the same. So take care.
All right. Bye.
Bye.